Hi gamers, it's me, rainbranch, and get right into the last 11 episodes of Star Detective Precure. Episode 11 is the Arcana Shadow episode. Luluka's use of pre-cake gloss to disguise herself makes me think proper disguises are a fairy-only ability. I wanted to point out that 10 episodes later, Luluka's subtle foreshadowing at the end of this episode has yet to pay off. This is also the beginning of Augustine's hater arc, which is likely to set up for Luluka's betrayal of the Phantom Thieves. Episode 12, I honestly didn't feel like I got that much from this episode until Mashutan decided to drop that she's not the only fortune teller fairy, and that Pochitan drinking the Makoto jewels is repairing the big Makoto jewel. And Luluka just revealed that she used to live in the Kyoto Detective Agency. Why are you just chit-chatting? Whatever. We gotta get to episode 13. What a bonkers episode. Uso Noir squaring up did actually reveal a lot to us. Now we know about the big Makoto jewel situation. And we got our first hints that Eclair is the one that stopped Uso Noir from taking the Makoto jewel. Oh, and Pochitan starts talking? I have a feeling Pochitan will get to be an actual character by July. And the Ray episode, oh my gosh, she's an absolute sweetie. The only really important things here were that one more person knows about Pochitan. Also that Luluka actually doesn't care that much about revealing her letter. We also got one more reminder about the Nostradamus prophecy. And also a look at some other extra fairies or animal helpers. Goat male, owl male, I guess. We'll see if they come back, but honestly neither of these random other fairies seem that important. And then we get the big Luluka reveal episode. This letter includes her birthday, which most of us already knew except for the year 1983. Especially online viewers, of course, would recognize as...
Was that the bite of 87?
I do not have enough footage to be able to explain the Fnaf lore over, so instead... The Elisa episode was mostly filler, but we got to see Elisa detectiving as a candidate, and we get to see Mystique strike and more fun Augustine tidbits, which I appreciate. The Korea episode made me literally gawk, because how did we not think about the cake that literally got baked for Anna by a baker? And we have a baker character who's supposed to be significant. Hold on, we'll get back to it. I didn't think the Detective Conan episode of all of them was gonna be that significant, other than Niji getting kicked the shit out of by Ron. But just because it's a crossover doesn't mean it's not canon. So I want everyone to notice the increased museum security, but also the fact that Niji can still sabotage an exhibit in this museum. But also the name Lost at Midnight for the fancy glass slipper that the exhibit was kind of surrounding is a double reference, not only to when Luluka announced that she would take the princess necklace, the other museum episode, also Cinderella, which was referenced in episode 9. I can't deny the Jet Crumbs either. What the fuck do you mean that he's networking capabilities? That's a 222-year-old cat. He shouldn't be doing that. Episode 19. Woohoo! Field trip! Mostly a filler episode, but we get a little more from Yumi, who led this field trip. And I guess the public zeitgeist, with many of the kids genuinely being curious about a supposed UFO sighting. Episode 20 is just Jet lore, but it actually has some really fun implications. Jet doesn't have his goggles in the old quote-unquote footage, the flashback from 100 years ago, which means he graduated from fairy college or fairy apprenticeship or whatever when he was over 120 years old. which implies fairies live a lot longer. I mean, we kind of knew because Jet looks like a little baby still. It had me sitting and thinking for a while though. Episode 21. Let's just say I'm glad I watched this one before recording. This one gave us an even harder confirmation that Luluka and Eclair were detectives together. And we got a good look into Luluka's mindset about her compared to the Phantom Thieves. She does not believe she will come back, which is a huge theory fuel. And the London office didn't even know. Also, she just showed up that one time. This makes me think, I'm gonna go on a little ramble here. This makes me think, while Luluka and Eclair were detectives together, Luluka was the only one that was like actually kind of part of the broader scheme at first, and was the only one that was a precure. So she would have been fighting alone most of the time, but Eclair would have been doing most of the sleuthing. Speaking of Eclair, let's get all of our Eclair shenanigans out of the way now. First of all, I'm quite sad that they're excluding Niji and the chairwoman from the official suspect list. It really does seem like they want us to settle for one of the girls. Rest in peace, Grandma Eclair Theory, you will be missed. I have heard the news. I have seen the leaks. I don't hate Kureya, but I was a little annoyed about this information until her official episode, which basically was 20 minutes of wink wink, nudge nudge, subtle foreshadowing. So it doesn't feel that out of left field anymore, and I'm sure the little campaign will help me feel better about it too. But like, she has good Uchi vibes. She appears both times we see Anna like feeling down about being a time traveler and about missing her mom. And I'm pretty sure I said something when I was talking about Grandma Eclair Theory, how like having another time traveler would be able to comfort her or whatever. But like, yeah, every good protagonist needs a mentor character, and Jet sure ain't helping. Next, new theory. Shushutan is clearly Niji. But actually, I think there's very few ways to justify Kira Claire being one of the girls. This is no spoilers, by the way. This part of theorizing, because it can work for any of the Clairlings. So she could have just gotten totally Men in Black brainwashed by the London agency, and there's a scheme to keep what happened to her a secret, which, like, I'll believe. I mean, there's also any sort of memory loss. The Makoto jewels exploded. If her Makoto jewel exploded, then she wouldn't remember anything. And that kind of goes into my next theory. She has been kind of keeping undercover, keeping a secret, kind of like how Cure Moonlight was, because she had her henshin item, but it was broken. I forgot what they called it in Heartcatch. But I mean, duo protagonists, you could do another Heartcatch reference, teehee. Like, I'm getting vibes that there was a broken henshin item, like a Makoto jewel, or like even her mirror loop, and thus cannot transform, thus doesn't want to take the risk to reveal herself as Kira Claire, who is definitely an enemy of the Phantom Thieves Guild, to even the other detectives. And then I want to throw in one more crack theory. Kira Claire is dead! But her Makoto jewel is still alive, and she can still speak and act through the new Eclair when she transformed. This one's kind of weird and freaky. I don't think they would do this, especially in Precure, but it's kind of cool. I also wanted to do another update on kind of what we know about the characters, because in March I did kind of like a quick run through of all the characters, but I think there are certain things that we kind of have to mull over one more time. So first of all, the duo protagonist setup this season has given me a little trouble with Anna and Mikuru's characterization. You can kind of tell them apart, but I'm of the belief that the best pairs of characters are foils, and Anna and Mikuru are not really giving any foil for me. So here's kind of what I've been like considering for each of their characterization that makes them different, but it's these like tiny things that make it just like a little annoying to watch, especially because it's a show where you want to be able to pick a favorite, and it's kind of hard when they're not that distinct. For Anna, obviously she never tells lies. That's kind of her like thing that she boldly states multiple times. Is supposedly more like intuitive and spontaneous. She's a time traveler from 2027, and she's motivated by wanting to be a good person. And for Mikuru, she's not the protagonist. She is supposedly more thinking, and she's from 1999, of course, and she's motivated by wanting to be a good detective. And the reason I say supposedly for the thinking and intuiting thing is because, like, you can say that she's intuiting that or she's thinking that, but what's the difference in them doing that? And I think it's kind of hard to see, because I look back to where Mikuru does this whole thing where she's like, needs someone dependable. I'm gonna go work out. And like, that's a very like spontaneous character thing to do. And there is something kind of logical to that, where it's like, oh, Mikuru's like, oh, dependable, like strong. But it felt more like a silly, spontaneous thing for Mikuru to do, when I feel like she was pitched as the more straight-laced character. And I feel like I don't see that as much as we should. Like, that's the thing, where it's all these different differentiations with like Mikuru kind of being more in the space and having read all of this, like, things that are popular in 1999, like the Detective Ellie. Like, obviously that has to be Mikuru doing that, but other than the things that they have to do to differentiate from each other, and that they just coincidentally are different from each other in, like, the whole Anna's motivation is she wants to be a good person, and Mikuru's motivation is she wants to be a good detective. It's there, but we don't see that like actively clash in the, I mean, we could go back to episodes like 5 and 6 and kind of take a look at how that kind of has developed. Editor meme will come back if I think it's important. Editor Branch here. I looked at episode 5. Yeah, looking back, it does actually kind of pretty accurately convey their like conflict of interests, but we literally have not seen them have a conflict of interest since. As a little recap, Anna doesn't want to call Mikuru because she wants Mikuru to spend time with her friends. And then Mikuru is like, man, why won't Anna pick up? But she wants to be a good detective, so she doesn't go out of her way to stop sleuthing. And then they bump into each other, and they're like, you went sleuthing without me? That makes Mikuru upset because being a detective is important to her. Then it makes Anna upset because she was just trying to help Mikuru. And then they both are kind of like, oh man, was that my fault for getting so upset and getting the other one so upset? And that's why they lose episode 5. And then obviously Anna feels bad about not having friends because she's a time traveler. And she realized she's been taking all this time from Mikuru, and she's like, oh my gosh. And it's pretty sad, actually, looking back. I wish they could really slay it on the writing going forward, because I feel like with a lot of these filler episodes, like the Anna time traveler moments and the Mikuru, like, truly pursuing being a detective really gets pushed to the wayside and really only gets, like, 10 to 15 seconds of, like, genuine emotion in any of the episodes where it's even brought up. So yeah, that's my bonus, how I feel about it. Like, you'd hope this amount of differentiation is enough, but like, on my first pass, it's not really a lot until it's something like in your face, like Anna literally being like, look at me, I can't lie, you know? And I understand wanting to move away from like super tropey characters whose world revolves around like one interest, but I feel like having nuanced characters is hard to juggle when the season isn't as much about the characters. But all of my ramblies and rumblies aside, and my negative feelings about Anna and Mikuru's characterization aside, I do have a little fun activity, because recently Leo MagicalCinnamon covered an interview that Animedia had with this season's character designer Yano Akane, which has some interesting things to say about Cure Arcana Shadow, Cure Eclair, and Uso Noir. And since they're kind of the most mysterious characters, it's always good to take a little extra look into one, what the character design actually is, and also what people behind the production are pointing out. Cure Arcana Shadow's veil was influenced by a character called the Prayer from the ballet Capella. I have to mention Fnaf one more time because Capella is also mentioned in the Five Nights at Freddy's book week before, but that part isn't important. So I'm going to do a quick summary of Capella, and we're going to talk about how it applies to Precure, because I really want to talk about Fnaf, apparently, but I can't. So we're going to get through this. A suspicious inventor makes a life-size doll, Capella. A young man, Franz, falls in love with it over his betrothed, Swanhilda. Franz is nearly tricked into sacrificing himself to the inventor to bring Capella to life, but Swanhilda disguises herself as Capella and they both escape. The inventor is angry at this situation and interrupts their wedding, but the mayor pays off the inventor and the two live happily ever after. Well, watching that ballet for like an hour gave me very little. Must just be vibes. With that conclusion, I'm just gonna go off vibes for the other two. So we got another wink and nudge to look at Eclair's one tall sock. I have two theories. One is easy, and that's just she physically is injured on that leg from the whole Makoto jewel exploding situation. So she covers that one now. The other one is this is just like a classic asymmetry kind of, think of Cure Moonlight. I have Cure Moonlight here because she has the mismatched gloves with the one long glove and the one short fluffy glove. It's a pretty common trope for a character who is missing a part of themselves or missing someone important to be asymmetrical to symbolize incompleteness. So, in a similar way to Arcana Shadow's kind of mourning color palette with the black and the purple, now clearly supposed to be a representation that she lost Cure Eclair, and the veil kind of being mysterious and dark, which that is also like a mourning thing. We also can now look at Eclair's asymmetry and see that it shows that she's missing her detective duo, or she's literally like her attention item is broken. Editor Branch is back. Holy freaking crap, guys. She's Cinderella. She's blue. Hey, you know what the other thing that's come up twice so far? Maybe 3 if you count the episode 11. Cinderella, she's blue. In the version in episode 9, she's a time traveler, which is still an option. You know what Cinderella's main thing is? She loses a shoe. You know what Eclair doesn't have? A sock. And I mean, that's not the same thing, but they both go on your feet. And there's both one missing on a blue character who has been mentioned multiple times in this season. This is awesome Eclair theory fuel. I think it would be really cool to see in Eclair final thing, they find either a missing shoe or a missing sock. I hope they don't literally find a missing sock. That's insane. And they try it on all the girls. I hope it is a shoe. I hope it's a shoe. Or I hope it's a henshin item, and all the girls get to try it. And then for the last one, it works, and it's beautiful. I think that they dropped a really awesome amount of hints to make this possible, and I think if this is true, I'm proud to be a Precure fan in that moment. But if it's not true, I've been wrong before. I do want to point out, because I did remember, Yano Akane wanted her hat to be bigger to shadow her eyes to make her more mysterious, which I think would have been really cool, but I get why they didn't do it. Well, next we got Uso Noir, and this one's pretty similar. Uso Noir's composer-esque wig was also pointed out. I think most of his design is there just to feel European and invoke things like masquerades, which is very much what the Phantom Thief aesthetic was built upon. But I do see him being like a composer, not only referencing that he can literally like control people, like puppeteer them with lies like we see in episode 13, but also the composing aspect, crafting stories, using art incorrectly, creating lies in the same way one would create music. The Nostradamus prophecy situation is definitely going to be correlated with Eclair, but we already know that. But I think also, if the writers are smart, Pochitan will gain some sort of agency and we will be able to get information out of Pochitan finally, because they're not just a baby anymore. I'm not going to be that mean to Pochitan. Everyone knows I hate Pochitan. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if I said it enough in March. I should have, though. I don't like Pochitan that much, but I think it's just because they're a baby. I hope Pochitan gets to gain agency in July and talk and stuff. And with that, we're going to be able to see a new big Makoto jewel, and obviously all that's going to coincide with Eclair's reveal and having to step in to fight Uso Noir and or the Phantom Thieves and or redeem Luluka. Also, I feel like we're getting a big Mikuru episode soon. I feel like we're overdue for one. My hope is that it's connected to one of the Eclairling episodes so we don't have to wait until Eclair gets here. But I do think the Mikuru episode will finally give us insight into one, her family situation, and two, give us a singular hint that she's Anna's mother. Because having her exact appearance is kind of enough for most of us, but I feel like we should get a little more as a treat. And the theory everyone's been waiting for, I might make this the thumbnail. This might be the clickbait thumbnail. Cara Arcana Shadow is Purple Guy. I believe Luluka's motivation to join the Phantom Thieves was to be able to create a lie, like we see in episode 14, but like more powerful, that would bring Eclair back. And this kind of lie would only be possible with the power of the big Makoto jewel, which the Phantom Thieves are going to try to steal on July 19th, 1999, and during the Eclair episode on July 19th, 2027. That's all I have? That's all I have. Okay, big timely update. I'm on Artfight, so if you want a shot at getting art from a YouTuber, a famous YouTuber. Rainbranch is prioritizing revenges this year, smug emoji. And if you can tell by my editing style, hopefully I locked in on the editing in this video. I am excited for Deltarune, and it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And I might make a video about it, but let's just say Precure is light work compared to the Phantom and Theory space of Deltarune. Either way, it is summertime, so expect something new before the next Precure video, because they have ideas. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, night, or is there another secret fourth time of day? I hope you like and subscribe and ring that bell. I feel like there was something else that YouTubers always say at the end of their videos. Check me out on Artfight. Check me out on my other socials. I post a lot more on my other socials than I do here, believe it or not. Okay. Thanks for watching.